Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would show you guys some things that I do with the groceries we buy. So I bought 2 Ingram chicken. I got 2 of them because, as you can see, they're quite small. By the time they cook up, they are going to shrink a bit more. And then that point, there's not a lot left to them. So I got 2 so that we have at least 2 days of meals because we can use them for sandwiches and such. So what I'm going to show you is kind of how I prepare the chicken, what things I use. So I got it ready already, so I'll tell you what's in here. So this is about 2 heaping spoonfuls of softened salted butter. I put in the Master Foods mixed herbs. This is from Costco. So this one it's got thyme, rosemary, marjoram, basil, oregano, and sage. So this is a really good mix if you're going to pick it up. I think it's $5.99 or maybe $6.99. It's a pretty good deal. And I've used this in pizzas and lots of different things, so it's good. We use the pink Himalayan salt from Costco as well. There's black pepper, so these ones have the grinder on top, so you can grind it so you get the peppercorns. There's the Master Foods onion powder. This is from Costco as well. I think this is $5.99. And then the Kirkland granulated California garlic. So I popped all this in. Just do it to your taste. So I don't really measure. It's kind of, I know just how you're looking. You do want it to be fairly strong because what we're going to do with this is I'm going to show you how to stuff it underneath the skin. So this is something that I've learned. So I've taken off all my rings, everything. I'm going to pat dry the chicken because I am going to put some of the butter on the outside. And don't worry about the inside. You shouldn't stuff chickens other than maybe putting in like a lemon or something like that, just because it affects how it cooks inside. That was one thing that actually Elton Brown taught me, is that stuffing inside the chicken is really bad, unless, especially if it's got something it needs to cook, because you can actually have raw meat inside where the outside's cooked. So that's something to be careful with. And what we've also got ready is I have aluminum foil on a big tray that's got a lip because there is going to be juices. I've put the parchment paper in to hopefully contain some of the juices and it's easier cleanup. And then I've thrown on a rack. If you don't have one of these racks, you can put down like sliced onions. You can do it with potatoes underneath. Especially if you're only doing 1 chicken, you can do a roaster that has higher sides. Pop in some vegetables and stuff, and then all the juices and the butter and everything goes down onto those vegetables, and it's super yummy. But we have some leftover vegetables, so I figured I'd just do the chickens. And then what you do, I'll start with the smallest one, is you grab the lip of the chicken skin, and you'll see here it starts to kind of tear apart. And I mean, if you're squeamish, this might not be your most favorite thing, but you just kind of hold it. You don't want to tear the skin, but you're just separating that membrane. So you're making a little pocket between the skin itself and the breast. So you do that, you're going to repeat it on the other side. And then you're also going to take your finger down here and you're going to separate along the drumsticks. There's no point in trying to do the wings just because there's such a thin skin on that it would most likely just tear it. And you're going to do it both sides, and then I'm going to repeat on the other chicken. So you just pop it under. Make sure you don't have rings on or anything, just because you're going to tear up in the skin. And plus, I mean, you don't want chunks of chicken in your, like raw chicken in your wedding ring or whatever jewelry you're wearing. And again, you do it on the drumsticks, and you try to get it down towards the thigh as well, because you want that butter that we're going to stuff in here to kind of get everywhere, so everything's nice and tasty. And by stuffing under the skin, you are keeping the juices trapped against the breast, which is the part that may dry out the easiest, because the chicken or the dark meat takes longer to cook. So then I just go into this little mixture I've got here. I'm just literally going to take a mound, and because my hands are wet, it's easier to hold onto the butter, and you just stuff it underneath the skin, and you'll see it here. And then you push on the top so you can get it all the way up. You kind of massage it in, grab another little bit. The hardest part is doing it down onto the chicken chicken drumsticks, just because it's a bit tighter in there. But you can see there's little pockets of butter, and that's what you want. It doesn't need to be super even, because as things melt, it's going to spread. And you kind of push it down. And I can't remember where I found or heard about this. I think it might have been Laura in the kitchen. I think she does it on her turkey. She doesn't do it for her roast chicken, but she does it for her roast turkey, I think, and I've just started doing that. I do it for turkeys when we do make them for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, and I do it on any roast chicken that we make. Even if I spatchcock it, so cut it in half, I will do the same thing. I'll still stuff it. So you don't forget both sides for the drumsticks. And you kind of, it's harder to get it in there than it is on the breast. So you can see it's going down. And then what I do is I'm going to flip this over and leave your wings like this, because the little pieces of wings, there's just a piece of meat there, little pieces of wings will burn if they're sticking kind of out, so you can always just fold them under. It keeps them contained. And I'll do the same to this one. So they're folded under. Sometimes when you buy them, they won't be. And you want to pat it off, because what I'm going to do at this point is use the leftover butter, and I'm going to rub it all over the chicken so we get the flavor down here. I don't peel, like try to stuff it under the skin here, because you're going to get all the juices are going to roll to the side, because this is what's going to be against the rack. So you want to leave some for the top, but because I patted it dry, it's super easy to kind of rub it all around. It's very messy, so this is definitely something you want to be prepared for, because you can't be running and grabbing things after you're touching raw chicken, unless you want to wash your hands a million times. And then you flip it back over, and we're going to repeat the process to the top. So even though it's stuffed underneath, we still want to make sure it's on the skin, because that's what makes it nice and crispy. So if you are doing this with a turkey, you will need to protect the skin, because it obviously with a bigger bird, it's going to take longer for the meat to cook, and you would burn with the butter. One thing I do is I do use just a little bit, and I just kind of pop them inside. Then it mixes with like a little ball of the butter. It mixes with the juices. And then the last thing I'm going to do, because we've got the loose legs and these can burn, is you just take a knife, so just be careful. You're going to make a little slit, and you're going to go through the membrane there and the skin. You might have to tear it a bit, and you just pop it there, and it holds it against the bird. Then that way you don't have to worry about going out and buying butcher's twine or any of that stuff. I never have it, and I never remember, so I've just started doing this. And you just do it to both birds. And you just kind of find the hole again with your finger. And you might have to tear it a little bit. It gets a little bit harder as your fingers get greasy. And they may pop out as they cook, just because the skin will tighten up and shrink, but that's fine. It's just at the beginning, you kind of, as things are cooking, you want those wings to be closer to the body so that they don't burn the ends and everything. And there, so this is what your bird would look like if you were getting rotisserie. These would be a little bit closer because of the butcher's twine, and then you just pick them up. I wish I had a slightly bigger rack, but this will be okay, because you just don't want them flat in their juices, because then you essentially, we'll turn this one this way, you'll essentially just kind of boil underneath, and boiled chicken is only great in soups. So if you're going to eat this as a roast chicken, you can, if you want. I have a little bit of salt and pepper that I just kind of mixed together, and you can sprinkle it on top and kind of rub it around to give a little bit more seasoning, because remember, most of the butter is under the skin. And then you're going to cook these in a 425 degree oven, that's Fahrenheit, or about 215 Celsius. And you're going to cook it for about an hour 30 to an hour 50, depending on the size of your bird. So this one, because this one might be done a little bit earlier than this, so you want to keep checking them. If your oven is like mine and it has the broiler that comes on in the top, you want to put these on the lower rack so they're not directly under the broiler, or you'll brown that skin super fast and it'll start to burn. If you notice that the skin's getting really brown, you can tent them with foil. You can tent, just like take a piece of tin foil or aluminum foil and make it into a triangle and put it over the breast if you're finding that that's just the area. But if it's all the skin, just kind of lay it over top. You don't want to pack it around. You just want to protect it from the direct heat that's coming on the top. And then check them. You can do it with an internal thermometer. I think it's 170, I'm not sure. I will put that in the comments down, or in the description, what the temperature should be. But you can always check. One way I'll do it is I'll pierce the meat, and if the juices run clear, then you know it's cooked all the way through. And you'll check on the fattiest part, like on the biggest parts, so the meatiest parts of the legs, and you'll check on the breast as well. And that's it, and I'll come back when everything's cooked and I'll show you what it looks like. So my chicken looks like it's ready right now. I did double check the temperature, and it does need to be 170 degrees or Fahrenheit if you want to. You have an instant read thermometer or a meat thermometer that you use. But with me, I just kind of go by. It's been going for about an hour and 25-30 minutes, and these ones are smaller. One of them was only like 1.3 kilos, the other one was 1.6. So there's not a huge, they're not a big bird. If it was like a 2.5 kilo chicken, you definitely want to go closer to the 2 hour mark, and maybe make sure you have a thermometer. So I'm just going to grab them out of the oven. So as you can see, there's lots of juices underneath, and they're nice and crispy. Close the door there. And if you listen, you can hear that they're super crispy. So my kids usually fight over the wings and the drumsticks. So one thing you can do is you can actually take a knife and you just kind of poke it in, and you'll see, I usually check, so I can tell that that's cooked all the way through. And that's kind of the bird, if this one's cooked, this one's going to be, because this is the smaller one. And I did rotate them about halfway through because we do have a warm spot in our oven. So I wanted to make sure that they were both kind of in the thing, but you can hear that. That's like super crispy. And if you don't finish them off, so you can see that one's also quite cooked. If you want to look in there, everything's nice and good. It'll still be much juicier than you would get with one that you just kind of cook off and you don't put the butter under the skin. You can use all of this juice. So this is just literally the chicken juices and the butter, and you can make a gravy on the stove. We're not a big gravy family. So this will probably just kind of, I'll pour that into the whatever container we leave everything in afterwards. And then it's nice to kind of fry it up with a little bit of the juices later on. But yeah, so we'll just carve this up and we'll eat it for dinner tonight. And if you want more videos like this, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.